Hey, welcome back, everyone, here to Veteran Nation. And before we get started with today's show, I want everybody to be able to go over to www.nrnplus.com/VN. That's our landing page. You can subscribe to the show. You can also get all the great content, the independent broadcasters who are here on NRN Plus, and all the great things that they have. You can buy a subscription for $79.99 for the year or $9.99 for the month, whichever one that works best for you. And I want to first welcome our guest today, Andrea Bryant. She is a Navy vet, and she's really doing some cool things now that she's transitioning away from the military. So, Andrea, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm staying cool. It's quite warm where I am, and I'm sure I believe it's actually a little bit warm where you are today.
Yeah, certainly no exception. I went for a run a little bit too late in the day. It was really feeling the heat by the time I got home.
Well, I definitely can appreciate that. You at least have to deal with the humidity. I don't.
Yeah,
Um,
for
so
sure.
you're a Navy veteran. Tell us a little bit about that, the type of things that you did.
Yeah, so I depped in the summer of 2008. So kind of hard to believe it's been that long, but I originally had a gunner's mate contract, switched it over to explosive ordnance disposal once I passed the physical screening test, and yada yada yada. That didn't work out at all, and ended up being a master at arms, thinking maybe I'd do law enforcement or security. Busted in heads, and I drove security boats. So none of my plan A, B, C, or D worked, but I ended up with a pretty cool job anyway.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
you got to be flexible with the military. You never know where they're going to send you, what you're going to do, all
Oh
those
yeah.
things. So it sounds like your experience was common in that aspect. I know mine was like that as well.
Oh,
Um,
definitely. Needs
Now,
of the Navy.
what is your impression right now of, because you're transitioning, what is your outlook on the force currently, advice when you first came in?
Yeah, so I did 4 years of active. I was IRR for a few years and then came back to the reserves. I'm still in the reserves. I'm in my last year. And uh, first of all, everyone talks about active duty and reserves. It's so different, and that is true. Um, but I think certainly my perspective on a lot of things have changed, and I've certainly gotten more bitter and cynical with age. Um, you think about what the mission was when I joined. Looking back on it now, I don't really believe in it. But you think about it in terms of personal, like, okay, well, what do I get out of serving in the military? And the first one that comes to mind for a lot of people is GI Bill, and that's a great thing until you go through college and realize it was just a voucher to attend a leftist indoctrination center. So it's like, yeah, you get kind of bitter about it, but at the same time, I also get VA healthcare, which is nice. Um, but as far as the military goes today, it's kind of like you'll hear the phrase "one team, one fight." It's like, well, I don't know. What team are we? And when's the last time we won one of those things? Would you call them a fight? I, the mission is very unclear. There, constant policy changes, or you want to accomplish something but not offend or hurt anybody, and it's really really frustrating when there's not a very concrete cause to rally behind.
Hmm. Oh, I can definitely relate. I too, I did active duty, left for a while, came back to the reserves, got to experience that. So I definitely have an appreciation for seeing both sides of it. It's a very much a different
Yeah.
animal. But I think the military force, is changing quite a bit. We now have the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He's making comments that not everybody agrees with, and
Yeah.
I've always been against the politicization of the military force. I don't know if you have any strong feelings on that, but that's always been my view. I think our military is filled with really awesome people who would rather not everything be politicized. Uh,
Yeah.
You would agree with that?
Absolutely. I see some of the comments of, you know, the whole Tucker Carlson thing is he's like a lightning rod for this stuff to expose the politicization of the military. I mean, God bless him for that alone. Uh, but yeah, generals attack him. Well, our women are, and it's like, no, 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 that wasn't the point. And why is the Marine Corps Twitter account commenting on it? It makes no sense. And it's, hey, we have a mission to do, and also just even if aside from politics, just the relaxation of really basic standards where you have to be this weight or under, you have to do this. And it's like, well, but we'll give them some chances. We'll try and rehabilitate them. And it's like, none of this stuff was a secret when they came in. They either made the standard or they got to go. I mean, aren't there more people who want to come in? Um, and especially like with COVID, it was, people who are obese were really having a hard time with it. And it's like, well, what does the Navy have a lot of? Obese sailors. Like, if you're upholding standards, you might have saved some lives initially. But yeah, I just several layers of frustration. Politics just one among many reasons why these next 12 months can't go fast enough.
Yeah, I have to chuckle about it because it's getting very politicized. It was in many ways before. I think it's getting worse in that aspect, which I'm not happy about. I don't think really many veterans are happy about that at all. But I'm seeing, and I saw this in the Marine Corps, and I'm starting to see it now in the other services. There's two groups. There's those that are in and those who are out. And, there's always that dichotomy where there's going back and forth and either this group's happy or this group's happy. What's been happening is now both groups are completely unhappy. And to me, it's a failure of the leadership to compartmentalize certain things. I don't know if there's anything along those lines that you would agree or disagree on that, or anything that you've seen on that.
Not particularly. One of the things they'll talk about, Navy core values, honor, courage, commitment.
Mhm.
And part of that is demanding respect up and down the chain of command. And I really see that honor thing being replaced with, political convenience. Is what's going to cover your butt and make you look good.
Absolutely.
Is that going to involve burning someone else or throwing someone else under the bus? And we don't want to see, blind self-sacrifice. But a lot of it just seems like convenience and not supporting, the personnel.
I'll tell you the word I heard the most in my last few years of serving was the word liability. And it seems like the lawyers are getting way, way more involved with the day-to-day aspect of the military. I'm glad that you can affirm that, and that I'm not the only one, because I was starting to feel like, am I really losing it here? Because for me, it was like, at least, the Marine Corps officer thing, they push a certain thing. And I was like, well, they're trained me to not care about liability, to do the right thing. And now we're talking about liability. So a little bit weird. Did you get a chance to spend time on ship?
No, trying to think. Probably the only ship I've ever been on was like a museum tour, like the USS North Carolina in North Carolina, World War II ship. No, the only thing I did was I drove small boats. So my first command, we had twin turbo diesel engines, moose boats. Those were kind of fun because you could walk the boat sideways, made it very easy to moor. So we worked around submarines, but that was about it. Bahrain was a lot more fun. There was a much bigger area of responsibility. So we got to work around ships. I mean, everything from down to patrol coastals, which is the smallest ship that the Navy has, all the way up to a carrier. And there was just more to do. We had smaller twin outboard engines, like I think 27 footers for recollection serves. But that was a lot more exciting and a lot more to do. My night vision is not the best, but they always needed people on days. They were happy to have me on days the whole time. I had a great time out there. Loved it.
That's I was in the UAE, so not too far away from Bahrain. I've heard a
Yeah.
lot of good things from people I knew who were stationed in Bahrain. How would you kind of just explain the country? Like, was it fun? Was it different?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the work, I enjoyed that. I was nothing I'd want to do my whole life, but I was good at it, and it kept my brain engaged. For off duty time, it was a weird country, because you have uh, the ruling class is all Sunni. A lot of the commoners are Shia, but then you have just a whole glut of third country nationals, whether it's the leftover British, Americans, of course, Indians, Thai. It's like the country kind of has no identity depending on where you're physically at. Um, and for the most part, I felt safe going around. Certainly, violence could happen, did happen. I saw it happen, but in general, both groups, like if they saw Americans walking around, it was like, no, get out of here, you dumb whitey. Like this is our thing. It wasn't directed at me, but yeah, it was a very very bizarre country. I was very glad to go over there and get a little cultured. Possibly not in the way I anticipated, but glad I had that experience. It was a lot of fun.
That's now being a female. Did you think it was it intimidating at all being over there?
A little bit. During Ramadan, you didn't have to wear a headscarf ever or anything like that. But during Ramadan, you did have to wear long sleeves, long pants, and I think they made everyone do that. Some of the men were overly aggressive there. But like you should be doing it everywhere. Have the buddy system. I
Hmm.
never really had a particular problem while I was over there. Um, as long as you travel in groups, gave people the slip. There was one guy at a mall one time, kind of bugging me, and you want to be polite
Hmm.
and get him away, but we had a group, and so he was trying to invite us all to a party. It's like, we gotta get this guy to go. And so he says, well, I'll teach you phrases in Arabic, like you guys can come, it'll be fun. And one of my buddies said, well, how do you say where's the bathroom? And so I just said, how do you say she was dead when I got there? And he just got kind of weirded out and he left. So mission accomplished, you know.
No, that's great. That's definitely an American military way of approaching something like that. So I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Non-confrontational. Yeah.
I can definitely appreciate that because yeah, I felt very safe over there. But like I
Yeah.
had friends who, like I remember one day a lady that I knew who was like, "Hey, I got to go to the tailor. I need a guy to go with me." And she like came into like our little office pool and was like, "Who's gonna go?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll ride with you." And we just sat in the taxi, and because she had gone there before and had gotten followed by a small group of guys. Nothing ever happened, but she just felt uncomfortable. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we look out for each other, so we're happy to do stuff like that.
Exactly.
But now you're transitioning and you're doing some really cool things. I'd like to hear the type of things that you're doing now.
Yeah, so I kind of an odd journey for that too, because I got out, went back to school. I was living in Utah, and um, but I was always a big fan of Red Eye on Fox News. That was my show, and so I'd come out to New York for a couple of visits, and after a while, I just thought, maybe I should move to New York, and so I finally did about 3 years ago, and mainly it was just so I could go to a comedy club, watch comedy shows, meet and talk to these people that I'd seen on TV my whole life, and that was kind of as far as I thought it through. But of course, Compound Media, Each Side Dave show with Roy Harter. I occasionally get to be on there. And last December, they said, well, for our Christmas show, we want people to tell a couple jokes. So I thought, well, if we only got like a minute to work with, I'm going to try and make it kind of a set, complete with the closer. And really enjoyed it, had a great time. And so I told one of my comedian friends, I said, yeah, I think my next goal, I think I want to do this. I want to have a solid 5 minutes. And about a week later, I did 5 minutes in a guy's basement, and I've been steadily writing and trying to perform and get dates, and have been at Broadway Comedy Club a few times now, and just really enjoying it, getting a good response. So having fun.
And I definitely love comedy, as I'm sure you're aware because you see
Oh
my
yeah.
Twitter account.
Yep.
I'm out here in the desert, but I'll drive into LA just to go to the Comedy Store, just because there's people that's like, oh, I want to see this person.
Yeah.
And what amazes me is the people then that you then see that you're like, oh, they're hilarious, so I have to start following them. And
Yeah.
I find I like the comedians who are like the comedians, like the ones that the comedians that if they're standing in the back of the room, the comedian
Mhm.
who's on stage, I'm like, okay, they've got something that I want to see.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
how has the experience been so far?
I've had a great time, and everyone that has found out that I'm doing comedy has been really supportive, and maybe they can't help directly, but it's okay. Well, but talk to this guy, like he books shows and whatever else, um, and good. Also being open to feedback. I look, I'm 6 months into this. I have no idea what I'm doing. If you've been doing it for 12 months, you're twice as experienced. Let's hear what you have to say. Um, but yeah, I've really had a great time with it and enjoyed it, and really get a lot too out of recording the sets, going back and watching it, seeing kind of what worked. Was I going too fast? Um, and one really cool thing is Dave Landau. I worship the comedic ground upon which he treads, and he was in town a couple months ago, and he said, "Yeah, I could use a ride, and if you're kind enough to do that, I'll give you guest spots." I was just like, holy cow! Like I'm 3 months into this. This is awesome, and I'm feverishly writing, polishing, just trying to make everything perfect. I don't want to let him down, and he told me right before the show, he says, "Okay, look," he says, "you're just if you have 3 minutes, do three. If you have 8 minutes, do eight." He says, "Don't worry about the light and whatever else. Just have fun." And obviously now that I'm on my own worrying about the light, yeah, it's time to worry about it. But that advice of just have fun is could have been better. Just been having a great time with it.
That's I love Dave as well. We
Yeah.
He grew up in Detroit. I grew up just south in Toledo, Ohio, which is
Oh
very
yeah.
similar to Detroit. We have just I-75 right there. So I really do enjoy Dave's comedy. I've been watching him on Crowder. Now that he's with
Yeah.
Crowder. And yeah, incredibly funny individual. So it's good to hear that, he's giving you that advice. I've also had Bob Levy on the show from the Stern
Yes.
Show, and Bob
Bob's
has been awesome. I
Yeah, he was supremely helpful to me. He gave me 5 minutes when I probably wasn't ready for it. That is the biggest time I've ever bombed. It was a train wreck. Ate crap for a solid 4 minutes, but even he was like, "Okay, you were too quiet. You went too fast. Or you did this," and it was like, "Okay, it might hurt to hear it, but I'm gonna be better next time." So, and it's coming from Bob Levy. Guy knows what he's talking about. So,
Oh, absolutely he does.
but yeah,
Uh,
he's been awesome.
he and I have done some discussions about doing some things with the military,
Yeah.
possibly out here in California, or if I can, try to
Oh wow.
touch with some people on the West Coast or East Coast. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
But he's very supportive of the military, very supportive of
Oh,
our
he's
veterans.
phenomenal.
Yeah, he's been great, and I've found, for in terms of comedians, he's very open. You can go and ask him any questions about, hey, what do you think I should do about this? Because he's helped me with things with this show. I've just said, here's 5 minutes. Look at this clip. Tell me what you think, and he's been great.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Uh,
Bob's awesome. He's a very giving person. I mean, I was blown away when I met him because I remember reading about him in like one of Jim Norton's books, and I'm kind of starstruck, and like he just was like the coolest guy. And I'm like, all right, yeah, Bob's awesome.
he's very open, and his wife Gina as well. They're both really
Yes,
great people.
yeah. She and I are like from the same area of California. I found out.
What part of California are you from?
I'm from the Bay Area, and I think she said she was from Modesto, so not too far.
Not too far, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
right there.
do you go back regularly?
No, I trying to think. The last time I was in California was 5 years ago. And I had a couple of Navy buddies that wanted to check out San Francisco, and I got there and I went, "What happened? This is totally different from what I remember." And yeah, it was not the best trip, and haven't been back since. So, ugh.
I've been here for off and on for the last 10 years, and I have been up to San Francisco once.
Yeah,
I had a fun time, but it's good to see you, good to come back home.
absolutely. Yeah.
Now, Las Vegas, that's my city. I go up, I
There you
can
go.
drive there. So, and I will,
Nice.
I'm looking at the comedians of the compound doing their show. So I'm like, ooh, can I make that? And I'm looking through my calendar.
Yeah. I definitely have to make it out to that too. That's gonna be a fun time. I've only been to Vegas once, and it was right before the pandemic hit, and I was like, that was a pretty good time. I would definitely have to go back.
During the pandemic, it was not as much fun. It was still somewhat fun, but yeah, without what I tell people is you got to go to a show and you got to go to like a good buffet. Try the Las
Yes.
Vegas food.
Oh yeah.
Because the gambling is only a small part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so with transitioning,
Mhm.
what has surprised you? What has been the thing that prepared you the most?
Wow. Um, yeah, transitioning. I remember is thinking that it wasn't going to be that big of a deal because it was like, well, I was a civilian before. It's just go back. That's all it is, and it's a way bigger scope than that. Um, and then I am blown away by the amount of obvious things that I'm learning that I probably should have known a while ago, like how to keep a calendar. Uh, Shockingly simple thing to do. Makes you look polished and professional, keeps your life on track. Um, Other things where, just in terms of breaking things down, making them more digestible. Okay, you want to do 10 pull-ups. That's not going to happen in a day. That might be a year-long plan, but if you chip away and do a little something every single day, you're going to get there. Um, so yeah, and then also just getting in touch with what do I really want. That's not something that gets asked or encouraged very often in the military. So actually stopping and thinking, okay, what do I really want? Because if I can figure that out, then I can figure out how to pursue it and get after it. So yeah, figuring that out was like the most difficult thing, and I'm still not quite there, but it's a work in progress. I know I want to do comedy. I'm doing that, so there's a victory.
Have you had any experiences with the VA?
Yes. So I do go there for my primary care. I've been happy with it. I actually have broken both ankles, luckily at different times. But the Salt Lake VA did both surgeries. They did a fantastic job. The last one was actually, I was just out there visiting, and I had a sister out there, so I could stay with her, and she was great, took care of me. But I had to fly back to New York, so that all the follow-up appointments, everything had to happen in New York, and it was just seamless, easy. Some frustration in scheduling. You got to see the primary, then you can see the specialist another time. That kind of stuff. But overall quality of care and follow-ups and everything else, I mean, they've done great by me. I can't complain.
That's great. I've heard, with mine, we've had a little bit of friction,
Sure.
but other people that I've talked to, they've said, look, if you can, try to get to another VA because some are great, some can be a bad experience. So
Yeah.
good to hear that you're having a good experience, because especially as I've been doing this show, I found that the VA, a lot of its programs, don't try to, but they end up excluding females because,
Interesting.
the military is a very male-centric organization in general.
True.
And they'll start these programs, for instance, like, for homeless veterans. Well, shelters, a lot of women have their children with them and can't take advantage of them. So things like that, that's just one example.
Right.
So I'm always curious, and I like hearing people's perspective on it because they're going to see a side that I don't. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. one other thing that I would add. So, I mean, the Salt Lake VA, like I say, they do a great job, but the Manhattan VA where I go now is fantastic too. I said, I think I kind of need some mental health here. About a year and a half ago, and they got a counselor down there right away, and they said, okay, well, you can do it in house with the VA, or you can go through NYU. They have a nonprofit that does this.
Nice.
So I went with option 2, and it was amazing, and that that went right into the pandemic, and it was visual consults and everything else. I mean, it was phenomenal care. They followed up on it the next time I had an appointment. I mean, yeah, really took care of it. They didn't let that slip through the cracks at all.
Excellent. Well, I do want to give you a chance to plug any shows that you're going to be doing, and
Okay.
also any social media or anything that you're going to be doing, online. I want people to be able to find you and your comedy.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for the opportunity. So the next shows I have coming up: Wednesday, the 7th, July 7th, 8:30, Broadway Comedy Club. Thursday, July 8th, also Broadway Comedy Club, but 7 p.m., a little bit earlier show. Hopefully be adding some more dates, but those are what I have for right now. For this week, you can see me on Eastside Dave Show with Roy Harter at 7:30 Tuesday on Compound Media. Please subscribe. And for social media, Instagram is Patrolly. 90% of it is pictures of my cat and me doing pull-ups. There's not a whole lot of content
I do love
there.
the pull-up pictures.
Yeah. It's a neat party trick. And then for Twitter, which be a little bit more of my thoughts, will be at Andrea from SLC, as in Salt Lake City.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today, giving us your time. And, I've had a great time talking with you.
Likewise.
We come from a lot of the same places, see things a lot of the same way. So I really do appreciate that. And if you would like, I'd like to invite you to come back on whenever you'd like.
Oh, thank you so much for having me and for inviting me back on. I would absolutely love to.
Well, that's excellent. And anything else? That's all your big plugs?
That's all I've got for right now. So follow me on Twitter as those plugs get updated, and I'll be tweeting them out incessantly.
Okay. And for all of our viewers here today, I want to remind you that you can always come into our Facebook group, Veteran Nation. Just search Veteran Nation in Facebook. I'll be posting this and all my shows there. And again, you can always go to www.nrnplus.com/VN, all spelled out. And you can subscribe for $79.99 for the year or $9.99 for the month. Andrea, again, thank you for joining us today. And for all of our viewers out there, thank you for being worth serving.